Yeah. Yeah. It's funny the things that you do, you think you're irreligious.
It's pretty funny, yes.
Yeah. Okay, we got a minion on. We don't have a minion on yet. We're waiting for the minion.
No, on Erev Shabbos. On Erev Shabbos Chodesh, we don't wait for a minion.
No minion? Okay.
Not on Erev Shabbos Chodesh.
Fine. Okay, so let's go.
We make the rules as we go along.
All right, that sounds good. A new year, new rules. It's all good. Torah. Yes, second line down. There we go. Torah. Second line down, Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. Reb Rav, we got on today's blot the shaila that you asked this morning. So on Amud Beitzah. We'll get to it. Yeah, hopefully. Torah. Yom Tov Chol is b'Shabbos. Now we get to some. Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos. So how do you daven? Like what type of tefillah? So Bais Shamai and mispal shemona. You say 8 brachas. Shabbos b'pnei atzma, and you make a special bracha. Normally it's 7 brachas, right? Normal Shabbos, normal Yom Tov is 7 brachas. The 3 beginning, the 3 at the end, and 1 in the middle. But Bais Shamai holds you make an extra one for Shabbos. Shabbos b'pnei atzma, Yom Tov b'pnei atzma. You make 1 of each. You'd say 7. You start off Shabbos, right? Then on Messiah B'Shal Shabbos, and you finish with Shabbos. And you say, whichever Yom Tov it is in the middle. Yeah. Fine.
What's this lashon of Rashi? Did Rashi have a different nusach for Tefillah Shabbos?
Why? I think it's just a representation. No? Yeah, no, I'm sorry. No, there is a girsa that says Yom HaMenucha. Yeah. Instead of Shabbos. Yeah. I don't know whatever happened to that minig. But anyways, Bishavura brings it. Fine. So that's the way Beis Hillel says you just put it all into one bracha. Rabbi Yomer af chaysim ba mekadesh Shabbos Yisrael v'azmanim. Rabbi says that you chaysim fi mekadesh Shabbos Yisrael v'azmanim. Tani Tana Kamei Ravina mekadesh Yisrael v'Shabbos v'azmanim. Right, he switches the order. Normally, to Shabbos Yisrael mekadshilei. Does Klal Yisrael mekadesh Shabbos because he's saying mekadesh Yisrael v'Shabbos v'azmanim. Meaning Klal Yisrael. How can we say mekadesh Yisrael v'azmanim? Because Klal Yisrael, since Yom Tov is based on when we make Rosh Chodesh, so we really are the ones deciding when Yom Tov is. Shabbos is every 7th day from Sheshes Yemei Bereishis, the way Rashi said it. Right? Meaning Klal Yisrael is not making Shabbos. Shabbos is there. Whether we make it, whether you keep it, you don't keep it, it's a mitzvah that every 7th day is Shabbos. But Yom Tov can change based on Bezdin. So that's what we say. Mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim makes sense for Yom Tov, but not for Shabbos. That's what they're asking. Amalei. Shabbos Yisrael mekadshilei v'Shabbos mekadsha v'kaima. Elema mekadesh Shabbos Yisrael v'hazmanim. Right, so that's on our It's like Ravina style, which is exactly what we do. Right? And then let's see the next Gemara, and then we'll talk some contemporary halacha. Torah Shabbos Chol is Rosh Chodesh, Hamoed. Right? Next Shabbos. Yeah, so Arvis v'Shachrus u'Mincha mispal Sheva. You daven the regular 7 brachos. So I'm in Me'ena Ma'ira ba'Avoda, and you say Ya'aleh v'Yavai in Ritzei. If you forget it, you got to go back. Yeah, because if that's a main part of the day, so you can't. If you forget it, you got to go back. You do it in Maiden. Where do you do it in Moedim? Like Rashi says, you do it in the same place as Al Hanisim. Right? So then you have a whole shaila. How come they decided to put Al Hanisim in Moedim and not Yalav Yava? Or why? Meaning, Rabban, cynics in us will say, of course, we're going to put one in Ritzei and one in Moedim. Why make it easy? We can make it complicated, right? All right, now we have what to do tshuva for ready for Yom Kippur, at least me, for next year. We're on our way, right? If last night's stuff wasn't good, or this morning on the shir, right? But yeah, so okay, but that's a shaila, and also then it plays into how come you don't say Ala Nisim and Ala Michya? How come you mention Rosh Chodesh and Ala Michya? You don't mention Purim or Chanukah, simply because it doesn't fit where it's supposed to go, and when you're doing Ala Michya, so. Why couldn't they rig it that you put Ala Nisim in Ritzei and then you could put it in Ala Michya too? Right? I don't have the answer to these questions. Anyways, so that's what you do with regular davening. With Musafin, Maskal b'shel Shabbos and Messiah b'shel Shabbos, and by Musaf you start with Shabbos and end with Shabbos. Yeah. Then you say Kedushas Yom in the middle. Wherever you're required to say 7 brachas, right? Which is Arvis Shachris Mincha. Rashi says Maskal b'shel Shabbos and Messiah b'shel Shabbos. Kedushas Yom be'emtza. Right, and you say Kedushas Yom in the middle, which is what we do, right? On Shabbos, but the halacha is not like that zug, meaning that they're saying you don't. You start with Shabbos and end Shabbos, and you say Kedushas Yom, right? So, by what do you do is you inspal Sheva, and you say it in Avodah, not in the middle, right? What do we do on Shabbos Chol next week Bez Hashem, right? We say where do we say Yalav Yava? In middle, or do we say it in Ritzei? Right, so we say it in Ritzei, except by Musaf. Musaf, there is no Yalav Yava. So we say it in Ritzei. So that's what the Gemara means, right? That's what we do. Fine. So what's interesting, the shaila comes out is what happens if you davened on Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, Musaf, but you daven the whole. It comes up every Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, right? You daven the whole Musaf Shabbos, the Shabbos Dikah. Now you realize it was Rosh Chodesh. So you already davened Shabbos Musaf, right? So now when you're repeating, maybe you should say the Rosh Chodesh Musaf, not the Shabbos Musaf. What's the point in repeating the Shabbos? Just daven for Rosh Chodesh. Now you covered it. What's Musaf? Just remembering, just saying the Karbanas, that was the extra Karbanas. No, so you already did Shabbos. Now go back and do Rosh Chodesh. Or do you do the regular Ata Yitzarta? Because that's the you missed the tefillah the way they were masaking it for Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. So it's debatable.
Why isn't it Matei Shetzavach Chachamim?
That's what he said.
That's the other side. Right? That's the other side.
But what is the other side? What's the side that it's not Matei Shetzavach Chachamim?
What?
What's the tzad to say it's not Matei Shetzavach Chachamim? This is where they would tell it.
Yeah, because if you say that, no, that's not. It wasn't a matpeya. It's just the way to. It's just that's you have to mention Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh. So as long as you do that, you do that. Even though Ba'atzim we hold that since it says in the Musaf, I don't remember the lashon now. These are the karbanos of the Yom, right? Some Musafs have it, some don't. Let's say you say Musaf next week, Bez Hashem. You said the wrong day. Say you said the wrong day in Musaf on Yom Tov. Right? Especially it gets quite confusing on Sukkot, like we had in the Daf a couple of weeks ago. It's one day, then Eretz Yisrael. It's we say one day, then we go back to the other day. We're draying around. Baruch Hashem, we don't think too much in the Siddur. We just follow what it says. Right? But if you have to make the cheshbon, you could very easily make the wrong. So as long as the pasuk says, Elo, I forget the lashon, then that covers you. These are the karbanas. So if you said that, so then really you're okay either way. Okay, whatever it is, fine. Yeah, weiter. Amar Rav Huna, ein halacha guys don't do that. Amar Rav Chia bar Ashi, Amar Rav, meniach adam eruv tchumen miyamtev l'chaverei umasna. You can make an eruv tchum from one yamtev to its other yamtev, and it's okay. It's a little misleading the lashon. Miyamtev l'chaverei umasna, make it tonight. Meaning, and we had this a couple of days ago, right? Basically, when yamtev is on a Thursday and a Friday. Right, so you want to be able to, make a eruv on Shabbos. So what are you going to do? So you say like this: if Thursday, you make the eruv on Thursday, tchum for Shabbos. So you say if today is not Yom Tiv, so I'm making an eruv on weekday for Shabbos. And if today is Yom Tiv, then let it be Chal tomorrow, and tomorrow's not Yom Tiv. Right, and then Rava says, "Omar Rava, tavshilin b'yamtiv l'chaver umasna." You can do the same. You're going to eruv tavshilin. If you forget to do eruv tavshilin, first day Yom Tov, you say if today is Yom Tov, then I don't need an eruv tavshilin because Friday is weekday, and I could cook from Friday to Shabbos. And if you say that today is not Yom Tov, so then I'm making the eruv tavshilin before Yom Tov, right? So those are the two shticks you can do when Yom Tov falls on Thursday and Friday. So one that says you're allowed to make an eruv tchum, then for sure you can make eruv tavshilin. The one that says eruv tavshilin, eruv tchum and loy, but eruv tchum you can't do. My time at the lemikni shvisa b'Shabbos loy. You're not allowed to be kind of shvisa on Shabbos, right? Which Rashi says doesn't mean Shabbos because you're not being kind of the shvisa on Shabbos. You mean kind of the shvisa on Yom Tov, right? Yeah, I mean, talk about misleading also. We're calling Yom Tov Shabbos now. Right, that's what Rashi says. So meaning you can't go make a kinyan to say that on Shabbos my dwelling place is going to be 2,000 amas out of the city. That you can't do, right? Because that's being kind of shvisa, right? Fine. So. Yeah, so Matana Rabbanon, ein oifin mi Yom Tov l'chaveira, you're not allowed to bake from one Yom Tov to the other Yom Tov. Meaning, you can only do whatever it is for that day. But really, the Chum said a woman can fill up her whole pot full of meat, even though she only needs one piece. Right? Meaning, what's a pshat in this? Oh, you're doing a trick. I mean, you need one piece of meat. You're going to put in 15 because you want it for the next Yom Tov. So that's allowed to be done because you're not doing any more malacha. It's called riboy shiurim. It's actually a very important.
Jacob, this is where the trick comes from, eating a piece of the, what do you call it, that you took out of the freezer?
Which case?
You want to take something out of the freezer, so you're going to, eat a piece of it. Really, you don't need it for tonight or something?
Correct. That's also, it's a riboy. Well, that's a little different, but yeah, similar concept. Right? But basically, you're doing the malacha anyways. All you're doing is adding on food to that malacha. Right? Riboy shiurim is not allowed on Shabbos, though. It's only allowed on Yom Tov. Again, what's riboy shiurim is meaning I'm cooking. I'm allowed to cook. The same fire I'm using for one piece, I'm using for 10 pieces, which is interesting. Let's say I'm not the cook. We need the cooks on, right? So I don't know. Do you need a higher flame if you're cooking more pieces? Could be. But I guess a higher flame is okay. But anyway, so you're allowed to do this because it's riboy shiurim. The most common application of riboy shiurim is on Chol Hamoed when they want to do laundry for the kids, right? Because little kids are always messing their clothing. They want to throw in adult clothing too, right? Okay, once you're doing the wash, you're not doing anything extra. So why not throw in adult clothing? That they say is not allowed. I don't remember why now that it's not allowed, but it's not allowed. You're not allowed to put adult clothing in with kids' clothing. If you have a heter to wash adult clothing, then they say it's better to do it with kids' clothing. But you can't lechatchila go wash adults' clothing, not in the 9 days either. Yeah? Okay, so you're allowed to do this with meat, and then mamale nachtim chavesh shalmayim, a baker can fill up a barrel of water that he's heating up, even though you only need 1 cup. To baking is not allowed, right? Because we know that it's a malacha to take the bread, the way they did bread back then, to peel it off the walls, and there was malacha involved, and each loaf needs its own malacha, so that's not allowed. A woman can fill up the whole tanner with bread. Why? I don't know if this is a disagreement in the Metzias. He says if you fill up the whole oven with breads, it's going to make the breads taste that much better.
That's true.
Okay, so very good. So if that's the case, what does the first sheet hold? He disagreed with
First
that?
sheet is talking about a baker. It's a much bigger oven. A baker can't do it. It's a woman, a private oven.
So l'chorah, that's what you have to say, is that's why the Gemara switched from a baker to a woman, right? Now Rashi says that the woman's ovens are smaller, and therefore it doesn't allow in that much air. If you stuff it up with bread, with dough, it doesn't allow much air in there, and then it's fine.
So now that people have commercial ovens in the house, then they could do it? Lots of people, in your neighborhood where you live, Rabbi, lots of people have commercial ovens. If you don't buy whatever, I forgot, Wolf. If you don't have a Wolf oven in your house, it's Mr. Schmendrick.
We've eaten many a kugel out of my oven, and it's not a wolf.
Well, you happen to have a particularly real Ashes Chayil.
Oh.
How you got it, I don't know. We're not talking about that now.
Schus Avis.
Okay.
It came in, they threw it in free with the shver.
Jacob, do you remember my shver? He didn't throw nothing in for free.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But anyway, I don't know, Taka, if the Mitzvah has changed nowadays. I don't know. I never heard of somebody allowing somebody to bake a bunch of challahs for weekday on Yom Tov. That I never heard, but I don't know. Could be. What are you saying?
But the first case with the cooking the fleishiks, he obviously needs more care and more handling and more zachen to make 15 chickens than 2 chickens. I mean, what?
Right, but there's no malacha.
Okay.
No, here we're talking about the actual malacha. So all you're doing is adding on to the malacha. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure. Does it need more fire? Right? I don't know. Fine. Okay, weiter. Yeah, so Amarava Allah Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Allah Reb Shimon ben Elazar that a woman can make a lot of breads even if it's not for Yom Tov. Fine. Okay, we'll see more on this in Amud base. Tavshilin. If somebody didn't make an eruv tavshilin, so who nesar? So he cannot. Obviously, he's not allowed to do any cooking on Yom Tov for Shabbos because he didn't make an eruv tavshilin. The kimchay nesar is his kemach also, meaning, can he let somebody come into his house and use his food to bake? Maybe he's also, but his kemach, his flour is not also, and somebody else can come in and bake for him. Right? Meaning this is your classic, does it go as the gavra or the chefza without using those words. Right? Meaning is it go on his belongings too or just on him? The
Hamoed is that the knas is that he shouldn't have food to eat second day for Shabbos.
It's a knas. I know it's a knas. He just
No,
doesn't.
If there was a knas, then there's no question everything would be usher for him, and you got your flowers usher and everything's usher. We're trying to find a way for him to have the food.
How would it not be a knas to say that the food is usher? The eruv tavshilin is to enable him to do malach, what we would consider malach. The food isn't doing malacha. Food's not doing anything wrong here.
Right, but the question is the takana is on you.
The takana is on. It should be on me. I was the one who was
right on you, but on you with your food too.
Why wouldn't that be considered a knas?
Huh?
What's
Why
wrong
would
if it's a
that?
kanas? What's wrong if it's a kanas?
I don't know. I thought I was being picked on for saying it was a knas.
You're
I
being
was
picked on,
asking,
being picked on.
is that would be a knas?
I don't know if you call. Okay, you want to say that the reason why it should be us is because it's a knas.
How else can you answer it? What is the reason? The eruv tavshilin goes on my
Because
food.
the whole it depends if you go with Rava's pshat or Rav Ashi's pshat. Why did they aser you to bake from Yom Tov to Shabbos? So if it's because of a hecker, so then maybe it's not a hecker. If you use your stuff, you're going to end up not having a chashivas for Shabbos either, right?
Oh, the person cooking is the one who has the hecker.
Yeah. Right. No, but maybe your stuff is also not a hecker. Hey, look at that. I have my flour, and now my flour became into a cake. Gewaldig, right?
So if I took his flour to my house, that would be okay. It really means
I don't know.
his
I
flour
don't know.
in his
So
house.
that's really what the Gemara is going to ask. Let's see weiter. Yeah, because we called the shir a little late today, so we gotta. Yeah, so lamay nafkamina laknuya kim chalachem. What's the difference? Meaning, do I have to be makna my flour to somebody? Let's say somebody's talking going to do me a favor. You got a nice guy. You have a nice neighbor, actually, right? And he can say, "Oh, you didn't make an eruv tavshilin. I'll come cook for you." So am I allowed to let him do that, or do I have to do a whole shtick and be makna him my food, right? I would hope you do a matana manas lahachser.
Yeah, you're being makna your food to him, and he's being makna, and he's giving you a present back.
Correct. So you better hope he's either a good neighbor or doing matana manas lahachser. Maybe matana manas lahachser doesn't work, right? L'chara doesn't work because maybe it's not really his.
So that's the case. Shmuel David's wife does it with Aaron's wife, because if Shmuel David did it with Aaron, it would be a problem. So, and
Yeah.
that's what Shmuel David's wife usually makes the eruv. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're saying it's all the shitasa. Okay. No. So Iyamrid who nesar v'kimchay nesar. If he's also and his flour is also tzarich laknuye kimchay lachem, he has to give his kemach to others. Iyamrid who nesar and kimchay nesar. And if he says that he's also and his kemach is not also lo tzarich laknuye kimchay lachem, so he doesn't have to give it. I don't know why the Gemara decides to repeat those, to say those three lines. I think that's pretty pashut, right? If his flour is no good, so then he has to be maknit. So what's the din? So Tashema, if somebody didn't make an eruv tavshilin, so this is also a din. Let's say I'm a guest by your house. I didn't make an eruv tavshilin. Yeah, let's say I'm eating out all the meals and I'm not making an eruv tavshilin. Even though the minute is you make an eruv tavshilin anyways for hadlakas neiros. Let's say I didn't. I come to your house an hour before the Sudi. You say, "Hey, I'm making a barbecue. You want to give me a hand?" And I'm barbecuing on Friday for Shabbos. Are you allowed to help? So the Gemara says you're not allowed to help, right? In both ways, you're not your food and not you. So what you do is you makna it. So you see that he's aser and his kemach is aser shmamino, and that's what the Gemara is saying. Fine. Next shaili boilu over va'afamai. Let's say you were over, and you did bake an on Yom Tov for Shabbos, right? Can you eat it on Shabbos? Now, what about eating it on Yom Tov? Right? I go on Yom Tov and I decide, let me make something for Shabbos. Then somebody say, hey, you forgot the eruv tavshilin. So now, am I allowed to eat that food on Shabbos? On Yom Tov, you could eat it, right? That's not a shayla. You baked it on Yom Tov. The shayla is, can you eat it on Shabbos? Yeah? So Tashama Mishalay eruv tavshilin. So if somebody didn't do an eruv tavshilin, Ketzadu, so what does he do? Makna kimchle acherim. He's makna his kemach to others. V'acherim oifen lo yumavashin lo. And others bake for him and cook for him. Yeah, and if we say, listni avar va'alfa mutter, why don't you say if you were over and you baked it, then it's mutter? Meaning, why are you only saying that there's a scenario where if you forgot to do the eruv tavshilin, so you're allowed to be makna your stuff? Meaning, we're looking for eitzes. The Bais is looking for an eitzah. The guy forgot to do eruv tavshilin. So looking for eitzes. You say, you can go be makna to somebody else. Why don't we just say, and by the way, if you did do it without an eruv tavshilin, then it's fine. How come the Bais doesn't say that? So we're teaching here takanas of heta. We're not teaching takanas of isser. Meaning, we're talking about what can you do legitimately. You go be makneh to somebody else, but if you made a mistake and you were over, that we're not talking about in the Brais. So it's no raya. So then Toshma Mishna eruvin tavshilin. If somebody left eruvin tavshilin, he could do everything. If you want to eat your eruv, then you're allowed to, right? But if you ate your eruv before you did the baking and the insulating, then you can no longer do it. You can't do it for yourself. You can't do it for others. And others can't bake or cook for you. But he's allowed to cook for Yom Tov, right? And whatever's left over is for Shabbos. And as long as you don't make shtick, right? And if you do shtick, then you're usher. Now it has to be legitimate shtick. Like what we said on Amud Aleph, right? We said you're allowed to bake, you're allowed to cook as many pieces of meat as you want. Right, so that's fine. That's not considered a illegal shtick. Illegal shtick would be if you really don't need the food, you have enough food for Yom Tov, and then you decide, let me decide to bake meat for Yom Tov with a wink, with a wink, and say, and then you end up using it. That's a harama. If you do that, then it's asur. Right? So you see that if you baked without a eruv tavshilin, it's asur. Right? It's very clear that it's also Amar Ravashi Harama Kamer. You're talking about making tricks. Harama, they were more strict than amazing. You want to try and pull shtick? That the Rabbanan are going to say, no, don't pull shtick. Right? If you purposely say, I didn't make an eruv tavshilin, I don't care. I'm baking for Shabbos or I'm cooking for Shabbos. That's better than guy trying to pull shtick. Try to pull shtick. The Rabbanan don't like that. Right?
This Gemara proves that inbuilt into every Shabbos and Yom Tov cooking, there are leftovers. It's part of it.
Okay, right. I hear that. You're saying it's not a contemporary issue. This has been an issue since time immemorial. Yeah. I hear.
And the Chayra would answer also that the leftovers without harama would be in Tzarchei Shabbos, not from the cheshbon of Yom Kippur. Part of cooking for Shabbos and Yom Tov
is having leftovers. Fair point. Now, Rashi does say here that there's a knas by harama. It's a knas. So we'll hand that to you. Now, there's another, the day after Yom Kippur, Rashi does give a bissel tshuva here, which I think is a very important point in Hilchos tshuva. Right? He says, if you do it b'mezid, you're Rasha. He says, Rasha hu lavro divrei chachamim. And nobody's going to learn from you because they say, this guy just doesn't care. Right? This guy says, I don't have an eruv tavshilin. I don't care. I'm being over on a derabanan. It's okay. So he's a Rosh. Everybody knows he's a oisvar, and he doesn't listen. But a guy that does shtick, that guy doesn't ever think he's doing anything wrong. So he's never going to do tshuva. A guy that does something wrong, right? You hope that he'll eventually come around. He'll do tshuva, and others won't learn from him. But a guy who does shtick, he thinks he's a great tzaddik, right? And the shtick is no good. So then that's the worst thing. Yeah, fine. This is going according to Chananya in Bais Shamai. The Tana Chananya, Bais Shamai, ein oifen ela imkain eruv b'pas. Bais Shamai says you're not allowed to bake unless you do an eruv b'pas. Vein b'vashel ela imkain eruv b'tavshil. You need to, meaning you have to have separate foods, like we said. Vein taimnin ela imkain hayu chamen. Doing a eruv Yom Tov, you can't do atmana unless you have food insulated eruv Yom Tov. Because eruv ma'arav b'tavshil echad v'oisa by kol tzarka. Right, so you do whatever you need. Right. So that brisa that says that you're not allowed to do harama is going according to Bais Shamai, right? It's the Bais Shamai. We don't learn anything from Bais Shamai, right? We said Bais Shamai b'makom Hillel is not a Mishna, so therefore it's not negay. Fine. So Tanan, next proof, Hamaasa Peroisa b'Shabbos. So you're not allowed to take meiser off from your Peros on Shabbos that we learned last week, right? Because that's a rabbanon. Because it looks like you're fixing. But let's say you did it b'shaygig, you're allowed to eat it. B'mezid lo yochel. b'mezid, you're not allowed to eat it. So you see that if you do something b'mezid, if you ever nisa the rabbanon b'mezid, you're not allowed to eat it. So Gemara says, no, that's talking about when he had other fruits. So since he had other fruits, the Chachamim are not going to come down so hard on him because he has other options for Einik Shabbos, right? But if he had no other fruits, then maybe the Chachamim would allow, which again gets into another philosophical issue, whereas where do you draw the line between a D'Rabbanon ruining Einik Shabbos versus, hey, we got to keep this D'Rabbanon, right? So here it's mamish mashma, like, okay, if he doesn't have anything else to eat, we'll let it slide. But if you have other things to eat, then we're not going to let it slide. What's a pshat? What's a lumdus? Lumdus is, well, the Einik Shabbos is more important than keeping the D'Rabbanan. Got to tread lightly when you deal with these type of things. Very, very confusing. I mean, when to say it. Okay, the next brisa. Tashma matvil kela b'Shabbos. If you tovel your utensils, you're not allowed to tovel on Shabbos. That's tomorrow's daf. B'shoigig yishtamash behen. If you did it by mistake, you can use them. But mezid lo yishtamash behen. You did it on purpose, you're not allowed to. Right? So, you see, if you're over the Rabbanon, you're not allowed to use it. Like tzricha d'isle mani achrini. Same teretz as we said. So we had other utensils. If you had other utensils, the Chacham not going to ask you. If you had nothing else, maybe the Chacham would say you could use it. Or you can go borrow somebody else's utensils. So maybe you don't allow it, right? So, which is again gets into a different shaila when you ask somebody to borrow, meaning you have an oven, your oven goes off on Yom Tov. Common question: the oven goes off on Yom Tov. Are you allowed to ask a guy to turn it on Yom Tov? Well, maybe go to the neighbor and use the neighbor's oven, right? Do we say that? Do we not say that? Here it's mashma. Maybe you should have to. Okay. Toshma hamavashal b'Shabbos. Let's say somebody cooks on Shabbos or on Yom Kippur, right? That's right. Hamavashal b'Shabbos, b'shoigig. You did it b'shoigig. Yoichel, you could eat it. B'mezid lo yoichel, on purpose, you can't eat it. So now the question is, if somebody does it by mistake because they thought it was mutter, is that called a shoigig or not? That's a different wrinkle in the whole thing. But whatever it is, b'mezid you can't, b'shoigig you can. So eruv tavshilin also. So you say Isura de Shabbos shani. No, you can't bring any proof from Shabbos. Shabbos is already much stricter. So just because they answer that doesn't mean that they're going to answer if somebody cooked without an eruv tavshilin, right? Which not everybody learns exact. That's exactly the teretz, but that's what it's saying. Okay, Bais Shamai shnei tavshilin, right? Bais Shamai says you have two cooked foods, and Bais Hillel says one. Masnisin deloiki atana de Tanya. Our Mishna is not like a different Tana who had a different version of the Machlokes Bais Shamai Bais Hillel. Tanya Amr Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Ma'adim Bais Shamai Bais Hillel al shnei tavshilin shetzarach. Bais Shamai and Bais Hillel are both ma'adim that you need two cooked foods. The whole Machlokes is by using a fish with the egg on top. Bais Shamai says that's two different foods. Bais Hillel tavshilin, that's one food. Right, that's one food. And that's meaning it's one food, but it counts as two. Meaning everybody holds you need two. Just the machlokes is if eggs on top of fish is two, which is fine for Bais Shamai, and it's one, but it's fine for Bais Hillel because he says that that's considered two. That if you smashed up an egg and you put it into the fish, or if you crush up kaflutos is leeks, right? And you put it into the fish, ain't shnei tavshilin. There, everybody says stuffed fish is considered two different foods, right? I wonder if there's got to be a bracha. Do they say the same thing? You got to make two brachas, like stuffed chicken?
Yaakov, you would be yoytzer shachmanis like that.
Oh, very good sushta taka, right? Yeah, that would be the stuffed chicken, stuffed fish, whatever it is. They both agree that that's fine. So Omar Rabba hilchos like a tana didon. But leave it to Bais Hillel. The halacha is like our Tana, and according to Bais Hillel, which is that you only need one cooked food, not two. If you eat it or it got lost, you're no longer allowed to cook. Let's say the woman's in the middle of baking, right? And then the husband comes in and says, well, that's a good egg that you made. That's a good hard-boiled egg that you had hiding in the cabinet. Right? She's like, oh no, I'm halfway through my cake now. You just ate my eruv tavshilin, right? So what am I supposed to do? So the answer is, it's fine. As long as you still have one bite of egg left, No, I'm sorry. No, that was yesterday. That was the previous one. No, as long as she's still in the middle of cooking, just that, right? Can you continue cooking a lot of things? No, only whatever she's actually cooking, that's allowed. But more than that, you can't do. Yeah, all right.
That poor husband just ate his
All right, good
last
job.
supper.
What time tomorrow night?
Think about quarter to.
And shear tomorrow afternoon?
10 to 6 with mincha after, yeah? Your son could
Yeah,
lane,
Chaim
right?
can lane. Yes. 10
Right,
to
at
6.
six.
Is there a Byron here on? Or you left?
Yes,
Probably
he's
lighter.
on, he's
It's
on.
nice bracha. Everybody can lay. It's easy. You can do that.
I can't do it, okay?
There you go. All
At
right.
least I have a son that can, you know?
Right,
What I
right.
can't do that my
Muted,
kids can
you're
do.
muted.
Is that enough, Charlie? Really special.
Well, tell him we all say
Byron
thank
knows-
you.
Tully, what
But
do you
Byron
want?
knows,
He'll be here tonight.
no, my son can lane, so we have a minion by the rabbi after shear tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, very nice.
Okay, so 8:45 to Daf and shear 10 to 6, yeah? Fine. All right.
Shikaya.
Good job.
Shabbos,
Yankiv.
Shabbos.
Shabbos, good
I
job.
still have
Shabbos.
to jump in the shower, so yeah.
How do I make a cholent now from raw?
How do you make it?
As long as everything's raw, it's okay?
Gershon, you layer first the beans in the bali. Then
No,
you
no,
put-
no, no, no. I'm saying is I can make it as long as everything's completely raw, correct?
Yes, but put it up right before Shabbos.
Well, yeah.
Isn't that
there's
right now?
not much time
Isn't
left.
No, he's later than us. He's later than no. What time?
I'm
is it?
later. Yeah. All right. So
Uh,
mama's right before. Okay. Shikaya.
All right. Enjoy
Have a good Shabbos.
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 Naftali, my wife thanks you. She said Shabbos wouldn't have made without you. Okay.